Processes have to be challenged. They just do. We evolve as a culture, we evolve as a people, we evolve as a county, and so our processes need to be fluid as well. And so it does take some courage to challenge processes that people are just used to. You know, people tend to be change averse. Some of the ways that we do challenge the process is by speaking up when things don't sit right. And so I have learned over the years that by not just saying, hey, that's wrong, but by saying, can you tell me more about, you know, the ethics of why we're choosing to do it this way? And by asking questions, it tends to get a much better result than just saying, I don't like that, or, you know, that's wrong. I will give one example of this gentleman who found this wonderful part-time or custodian position with Rec and Parks, and they were going to hire him right off. He demonstrated he could do the work, and we found that our service system has significant challenges with transportation. And so the guy got the job, the employer was happy to have him, but we couldn't ensure that he got there. And so what we did was, you know, come back as a group and try and brainstorm, like, how do we, you know, help this guy achieve his dream of employment? And we decided we were going to approach them with the concept of doing a mobile crew instead. And so that would allow this individual to receive the transportation through us. Rec and Parks, when you work there, you get a shirt that says Rec and Parks. And I had no idea how significant that shirt was going to be. But the day that they brought those shirts over was like watching people win the lottery. It was just so telling, you know, what that shirt represented to people who have been trying for years to find employment unsuccessfully, that shirt meant that they have a job. But it was also just, you know, reinforcement that all this, the courage that it took to come up with this concept, the work that it took to articulate it and to be heard by other people who are involved, seeing their faces when they got that shirt was worth all of it and more.
When you're challenging a process, you're essentially triggering change, and change is something that people like to experience at different paces. There's some folks who, you say change and they're like, well, I'm on board, I'm gone. There are other folks that like to think about it, and they have lots of what I call pragmatic questions. How are we going to do this? What's it going to look like? And then you have some folks who are like, why are we doing this? It ain't broke. Why are we trying to fix it? And if you're lucky enough, you have all of those on the same team, because one of our capabilities is inclusion, right? And having all of those different voices and those different ideas while you're trying to innovate makes your innovation better every time. It's now just trying to figure out, how do you help folks with their need for a certain kind of pace, right? Even while you're talking about a process, you've got to remember that you're dealing with people as well, and that there are emotions and feelings behind any sort of change, and that you've got to take those into account if you're going to be successful. One of the things when you are trying to help people with change, it's helping them find new and different ways of looking at the world and how they're doing things. It's like a kaleidoscope. And if you have ever used a kaleidoscope, it's, you know, it's a circular thing, and you turn it and it's got granules and colors in it, and the image inside shifts. You turn it just a little bit, you get a whole new picture. And so helping people see that maybe it's just turn it a little bit, we get a whole new picture, and it's a whole new thing that now can help us move into the future. If you don't challenge the process, the harm of doing nothing means that you don't move into the future. You aren't prepared to help the folks that need to be helped. You do not have the products or the services that you need to have in order to take care of the people that we have chosen to take care of. And for us, that's employees and our leaders. And so if we don't challenge the process and ask how we can do things differently or better, we will become irrelevant, and we will not be able to help people.
So one of the things I learned is that challenging the process can be scary, but if you build trust with your staff, if you have great leadership and you have the confidence, throwing those ideas out there, who knows what can happen. We identified that wellness hours could be a good thing for the county. So I presented this idea to my supervisor, and we talked about it, and then we presented it to a bigger team. And then we presented this to the county manager. And so we provided the facts, we provided the ideas. There were about 15 of us in there presenting what we think would be useful to the county to be more efficient, be more effective, to be a happier place to work, to make sure that our families at home are taken care of. So after a few weeks, the HR department came back to us, had some follow-up questions. We identified some holes, we identified some goals, we identified how we could implement this. And then what they decided to do is they decided to implement it. A few weeks later, we got an email from the HR department, and they said that we have been approved for 16 additional wellness hours per year, and that it would be implemented the next cycle, and we were pretty excited. As long as you identify the need and you identify a plan and the goals and the outcomes and how they can be successful and the benefits of it, it's worth throwing out there even if it's scary, because you just absolutely don't know what the outcome can be.
For me, it means always thinking ahead, thinking of the future, thinking of how to make things better, how to be more productive, things work more smoothly, simpler. So one of the examples that I know I kind of challenged the process, I was fairly new to the canine unit as the sergeant over there. One of our officers was retiring, and his dog was retiring as well, so we were going to have one vacancy. Found the dog that we thought had good potential, we wanted to try. I wrote the memo like we normally do, wrote the memo asking for the funds, sent it up, and it was denied. And the reason being, and I totally understood why, was because of COVID. There were so many unknowns that everything was being held on too tightly. I knew we needed this. Plus, I had an officer all ready to go, I had school all ready to go. I had 2 out of the 3 pieces ready to go, and I wanted to do this. So I began trying to research different avenues. I asked for any kind of advice from my predecessor to see if she knew of any ideas. And she gave me a couple that I explored. One piece of advice that she actually gave me was, make sure you have a good relationship, a good networking relationship with those like in logistics, fleet, and upstairs in physical records. I latched onto that one. As soon as I remember she said that, I said, let me go talk to them. Let me see if there's any options. I went up to physical records, and I just said, look, here's the problem I have. Here's what I'm trying to do. Here's what I need. So a lot of what I explained about how I try to approach challenging the process, I tried to implement to make sure that I communicated what the problem was. Here are some solutions. Here's what I'm asking for to get the results. Ghost is out there now doing a great job. I think he's almost the senior dog now on the patrol side. But everything has worked out very well. That worked out very well. And that was just one way how I challenged the process.